Okay, under factoring trinomial. What's going on? I'm trying to reboot the computer. Today we take one more giant leap for man and a small leap for mankind. These bad boys get just a touch bit harder. We're looking at number one. If you have number one, which is 7x squared minus 81x plus 14. You still, boys and girls, kids of all ages, your step number one is still, can you factor something out of all three? And in this case, you can't. Well, wait.
Yeah.
No, 7 doesn't go into 51. Correct? So you can't take 7s out. So that is when you start to weep and cry uncontrollably, because then here is what needs to happen. Step 2 is you still have to figure out what gives you the last term. In other words, this. You still have to figure what are your possible factors of 14. What times what gives you 14? And again, 14 and 1, positive 14, positive 1, negative 14, negative 1, positive 2 and positive 7, and minus 2 and minus 7. I think that's all. Okay? But here is the problemo. Okay? If you go back and think about Mr. Foyle, you get this first term when you multiply the two first terms of your binomial together. In other words, this. I'm breaking this into two binomials. I know, because there's only one way to make 7, that my first two terms, one of them has to be a 7x and one of them has to be an x. You have no other options with that. Okay? No other way to break 7 up. If you ended up with like an 8 or something here, then you really got trouble, because you could have multiple different, you could have 8 and 4, 4 and 4 and 2, or 8 and 1, 4 and 2, blah, 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 blah. But this one is safe right there. Here is what one must remember. Whatever factor, whichever one of these I use, and whatever number ends up in this parenthesis at this place, gets multiplied by this, because the two outside terms in FOIL get multiplied together. So you got to think like steps in advance here. You get better at it as you try. But let me just put some numbers in there. Let's say I pick 14 and 1. Well, let's put 14 here and 1 here. Okay, what is my middle term going to be? Well, if you take 7x times 1, you get 7x. If you take 14 times x, you get 14x. You put those together, you get a positive 21x. That is not the right combination, because I need a negative 51x. So you got to go back and try all the different combinations until you get to something that gives you a negative 51 when you put it together. Now there's some helpful little hints here. Negative 51 is a pretty big number, and it's also negative. So putting either one of these two positive things in there is not ever going to give you a negative, so you can tend to rule those out right away. It's either going to be 7 and 2 or 14 and 1. And if you have some foresight here, you might be able to think, if I happen to put, I gotta erase this because it's going to be big. It's too big. It's too big. This. Somebody's going to have to clap this eraser because if it's not working. All right. If I put a negative 14 here and a negative 1 there, what am I going to get from middle term? A negative 7 and a negative 14 is going to give you a negative 21. Still not right. Well, what if I put the negative 14 here and the negative 1 there? Well, negative 14 times 7 is negative 98 and a negative 1. That's negative 99. Still not right. So I can rule out this one. This one isn't going to work. 2 and 7 is what I'm down to. What if I put a 7 here and a 2 there? Well, 7 times 7 is negative 49, and negative 2 times x is negative 2. Voila, that gives me my negative 51. So my answer is 7x minus 2 times x minus 7. Unfortunately, this requires you, it takes a little bit more in-depth thinking, which frightens me slightly with some of you. But sometimes there's no easy way but just to try every possible combination. But if you do this enough, you can kind of start to figure out how things have to work to get you that way. You know what I'm saying? You're saying, let's try another one. Let's try on this happy-go-lucky day. Let's just do number 2. 3a squared plus 11a minus 42. I would suppose if it were me doing this, right away I put down my 2 parentheses. Right away I'd probably say there's only one way to cut 3a squared into 2 factors, and that would be for one of them to be a 3a and for the other one to be an a. Anybody, did I lose anybody on that? Only way to get 3a squared, 3a times a. That first term in FOIL comes from the first 2 terms coming here. Now I've got an 11a. I got to come up with a positive 11 in all this, but the factors of 42 are various and exciting. 42 and 1, what? 7 and 6. How about 2 and 21? Are there any other ones? 8, 9, 10, no. And what's that?
It needs to be negative.
Right. So that means, I mean, you could have positive 42 negative 1 or negative 42 positive 1. You could have positive 7 negative 6, or you could have negative 7 positive 6, negative 2 positive 21, or positive 2 negative 21. So I just got to think what happens here. Whatever number I put in this spot here gets tripled, gets multiplied by 3. Okay? So if I'm thinking 42s, I'm not so sure I can come up with 11 anyway with that. If I put 42 there, I'm going to get 120 something, so that's going to be 2. If I put 42 there and 1 there, there's no way I'm going to get 11 there, right? It's going to be 30 something. So I'm pretty much sure I can rule these 2 out. Now let's just try 7 and 6. If I put negative 7 here and a 6 there, gives me negative 42. This times this is a negative 21a. This times this is a positive 6a. What? I get a, wait, don't get ahead of me. I get a negative 15, doesn't work. So I do have to try, what if I put the 6 over here? Let's say I go negative 6 over here and the positive 7 here. 6 times 3 is 18. That's a negative 18. And 7 times a is positive 7. Well, that gives me a negative 11. Is that what I want? No. But if you come up with the opposite, all you have to do is flip the signs of this. Make this the positive and make this the negative. So your answer ends up being 3a minus 7 times a plus 6. There could be no more exciting mathematics you could ask for than this. Let me have you try one. At least follow the steps before you tell me you have no idea. Break apart the first one, get all the possible combinations of the second one for the last term, and see what you end up. Let's do the number 3. 7b squared minus 62b minus 9. By the way, I know the answer right now. You should be able to see that one. Saw that one coming a mile away. At least get a good start at this. And we should not neglect to say hi to Delaney and who else is gone? Winkleman. Nobody watches this, so we can say whatever we want. Nobody will ever hear this again. Huh? Together?
Yeah.
Oh, that must have been exciting. Did you wax and wane nostalgic? Did we do something yesterday? We didn't math yesterday. Oh, that review. Hopefully that. Do we have any answers yet? Kind of the nice thing is 9, there's only really 3 different ways. 3s and 3s and 9s and 1s, that's the only way you'll get 9. You don't have that many options. Some of those look kind of tough at the end there, don't they? See the one that says 18v squared plus 200v plus 200? Ouch.
45a squared plus 395.
That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous.
That's insane.
Nobody should be asked to do something like that. We'll do that one next, just because. People are scared and frightened before you can try something. Well, for sure, 7b and b are the only 2 options here. For sure. I got to get a negative 62, which is a pretty big number. If you put 3's in here, you got the positive 3, negative 3 combo, you are never going to get anywhere close to that, because 7 times 3 is 21, and this is 3. So you know it's not the 3's. It's got to be the 9 and the 1, right? And since 62 is an awful big number, if you put the 9 here and the 1 there, you're not getting a very big number, because 7 times 1 is 7 plus 9, you might get 16. So, by reason of insanity, you put the 9 there and the 1 there, guess what happens? I have, positive 63. I get a positive 63, those are backwards. You just have to flip the signs. Minus 9, positive 1. 7b plus 1 times b minus 9. How many people had it? Jason, was that, are you clapping for yourself or no? You didn't get that? Huh? Now, where is the train coming off the tracks, or what part are you struggling with, J-10?
I had 1 negative and then the 9.
You had well, then you're going to get a positive 62. You know what I'm saying? If you switch the signs on this and have the 9 as positive, that gives you a positive 63 and a negative 1, and you get a positive 62 instead of a negative 62. If that happens, that's great, because all you have to do is switch the signs of those and it'll work. Now, for the tough one, you say, 45, the last problem, a squared plus 395a minus 90. How many different ways can I break apart 45a? 45. You could do 5. Why don't I do 45? And Keith hit it on. Sometimes, boys and girls, you get too stuck on thinking in whatever, you forget step number 1. And step number 1 says to, can you take a common factor out of all these? Well, and I can tell you, I know 45 goes into this, and I know 45 goes into that. What is the odds that 45 will go into that? Oh, stop, Jacob. What do you mean? 395 divided by 45. I'm going to guess it's 9. 45. What's that? 4. What's that? 36 and 4. No, is that right? Is that right?
No.
Is it 7? Doesn't it go into it? It's got to go into it. Otherwise, my whole world is shit. Does 45 go into 395? Huh?
Nope.
No, I don't want to do this. Let me try one more time.
All these.
5 times 7 times 8 times 9.
30, 45 times 7 is 315.
What about 15?
Is 9? It's 15.
Does 15 go into 395? Wait, does 9 go into it?
Nope.
How do you know? Sum of digits.
Yeah, that's,
12, 17.
no,
Is 15?
Nope.
15 times 2 is 30. 95, 15. No. Then we go with 5.
yes.
5, which is what? 9a plus. Wow. How about what? 79. Is that right?
Yes.
Minus 18. Let's not give up the ship. Now, the problem with this one and what would make this really, really, really complicated is that there are 2 ways to break up 9, which means this. You have a couple choices. You can go 9a and a here, or if that doesn't work, you could split 9a into 3a times 3a, both of which should frighten you immensely. Let's just look at factors of 18. Oh boy. 1 and 18, 3 and 6, 2 and 9. And you can kind of get a gist for this real quickly here. Okay, let's say I have 18 here. If I use 18 with this, and I put an 18 here, and a 1 here, there's no way I'm getting close to 79. If I put an 18 here, and a 1 there, 18 times 9 is like, what, 170 some, so I'm way over. So 18s and 1s will not work with this one here. Now you could try 18 and 1 down here because you're going to get the same thing no matter where you put it. 54 and 1, will that give you? No. I am ruling out 1s and 18s. How about that? Not bad, huh? How about 3s and 6s? If I put a 6 here and a 3 here, 54 and 3 doesn't get me 79. If I put a 3 there, it isn't going to give me that. If I put 3s and 6s here, there's no way that's going to happen either because these are too close. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this isn't one that's not factorable, because by the way, this could be the answer. But let's try. You see it?
Yes.
If I put 9 here and 2 here, what's 9 times 9?
81.
Can I get 79 with 81 and a 2?
Yeah.
Yes. The 79 has to be positive, so the bigger number needs to be positive, 9 times 9. This is negative. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget this 5 needs to stay with the answer. You factored it out. Inside this you get 9a minus 2 times a plus 9. I didn't think that was so bad. I really was hoping 45 was going to go into 395 though.
None of them are. That's the kind of point of this.
What's that?
None of them are. That's the point of this.
I don't know who.
None of them will. That's the point of this.